What's up, guys? Now you can see a little bit different background here with friend Kent. If you guys saw my last video, you actually saw where I shot this bobcat. We're gonna go from start to finish on what we actually do with these predators. It's like a highly requested video. I get comments on my coyote videos on what do you do with them. I've boarded some coyotes before. Probably gonna make a video on that eventually, but I've never actually harvested a bobcat. I finally have. And Kent, I see you've boarded a lot of them in the past and they look good. So I wrote him on Instagram and he's willing to help me out here. So you have your own YouTube channel, Fur Addicts, right?
Yep.
So if you guys are interested in anything to do trapping, just everything.
It's all trapping right now.
All trapping. So if you guys are interested in trapping or anything along those lines, then highly recommend you guys check out his channel. And also your Instagram, you post a lot on your Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram's Backcountry Sassin.
How's the cat look?
Most important part's the belly. There's no blood on the belly, so that's good.
So the first step, obviously, is skinning them, right?
Yep. We'll wash it after we skin it. The skinning a cat's different than anything else. I told Adrian, do not skin it after you shoot it.
Yes.
There's a different way to skin it. On a normal animal, you normally start about right here and go right down the back of the leg. But on a bobcat, you don't want to do that, and we'll show you why at the end. You actually want to find the color line inside the legs and cut inside so you leave some white on this side. You'll see on the final product why we do that. It's what the manufacturer wants. And then you start at the back of the foot on the bobcat too. So you're gonna go from the pad all the way down, starting kind of inside here, and then we'll go down inside the color line. This is the most important part on a bobcat, is this cut right here. That's why they call it the money cut. The goal is to not get any orange on this side. You want all the orange over here. Some of our Nevada bobcats are white to here. And get right up here around the vent.
So is there anything you recommend doing if I shoot another one? You know, make sure the blood doesn't get all over them, or
trap it.
Trap it.
You don't have to worry about the blood. You just want to make sure that blood spot's up. And then if you get some of these rags, you can shove those in the hole and they'll stop it. But when you shoot a cat, if you can skin it quicker, now that you'll know how to do it, you won't have that problem as bad. But anytime you shoot an animal, you're gonna get more blood.
Yeah.
And then the tail, they don't use the tail for anything, but when a fur buyer's buying a bobcat, sometimes they're paying $1,500 to $1,800 for one. And if there's any sign that it was handled wrong, they're not gonna pay you that much for it because it's too much risk. So it's very important not to rip the tail. And when you do the tail, I tell people this and they don't get it until they actually try it. You're gonna pull the bone out of the hair and not pull the hair off the bone. If you pull the hair off the bone, you'll rip it. So I just hold it right here and hold the hair and then pull the bone out. Comes out just like that.
That's one part a lot of people mess up on skinning coyotes and everything, is the tail.
It might not seem like a big deal, but then again, you know, fur buyers, they don't know how you handle the fur till they tan it, and by then it's too late. So they look for any indication that it was handled poorly, and the tail is one of those. And a lot of the cat, you don't even need the knife for. So I like skinning cats. They're super easy to do.
I've always heard that they're super thin skinned, so you gotta be really careful pulling on them.
Yeah, they're thinner skinned. Not as bad as a fox, but pretty thin skinned. Right on these heels is normally where you need a knife. And I go right above where that ankle joint is.
Have you ever eaten one?
I have.
Are they actually pretty good?
Tastes like a bobcat. If you smelt enough bobcats, it's kind of what they taste like. So at first it threw me off, but then I realized it just because I knew what a bobcat smelled like. And then it wasn't that bad. It's like a mountain lion. It has a pork texture to it. The fat you can actually eat. It's not like a deer or elk where it's super waxy. So it's a lot like pork in almost every way. And then right here, same thing, you normally get orange there, especially on the females. So you just leave that little tuft of orange there. All right. Tug of war.
Just pull them all the way down.
Yeah, all the way down to the front legs. And you'll do the front legs slightly different than other animals too. if you shoot one, you gotta be real careful around that hole because you'll make it a lot bigger.
So how many years have you been trapping?
This is my 11th season, 6th or 7th down here in Vegas. The screwdriver works better, but I don't know where my screwdriver's at. And then you can pull that leg down better. A lot of times on a coyote, these tuck in, so you'll cut it right there. This one, you want it to where that heel pad is. You can see it right there. And you want these as close to the same length as possible.
To make the presentation look better, right?
Yeah. Because once again, someone's gonna spend high dollars on your cat. They want it to make sure it came from someone who actually cares, took care in doing it. So it's the little details that matter. If you if it's still fresh and hasn't bled out much, or you plug the hole, or if it's a trapped animal so it's still full of blood, you hang it by the hair, and then this way, when you cut around the eyes and around the neck and the ears, you start getting those blood vessels. It doesn't bleed down the fur, it bleeds down the body. Then I just cut into the earlobe there. We'll get all this cartilage off when we flesh it. Then I save the glands, so I don't want to cut that in. And then eyes are another spot where most people mess up skin and stuff. You just want to, I go through a lot of blades because you kind of got to cut into the bone to make sure you get that eyelid in there. Because when you have a big hole there, it doesn't look good when it's put up. Let the weight of the animal pull it down. And then depending on where you live, the bottom jaw could be different. With the coyote, normally just cut the jaw right there. But in Nevada, we have to turn in the bottom jaw to get your cat tagged.
So it's worth it just to skin it all the way out then?
Yeah, so you just skin it all the way out. And that's very important to do because that's the only way they can determine seasons here, is based off the data, the ratio of juveniles to adults and males and females. And then they lengthen or shorten our season depending on that data.
So what would you guess? That was a pretty young cat, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was probably, cats can have kittens any time of the year. They're not just seasonal. Most are born in the spring. But this one was probably almost on its second year. They'll get dark green, and that's bad because when they tan it, sometimes this hair comes out. And on the bobcat, that's right on the belly. Fox and coyotes, they use the back fur more than the belly, so it's not as big of a deal. For cats it is. That's not bad green belly though. It'll be dark green.
Yeah, because I tried to keep them cold. It was only 20 degrees where we shot them, and then I put them on ice and stuff. And
that's what's tough when you shoot them. You're trying to keep the blood out, but like when I trap them, I keep them belly up.
This one doesn't look very fat. So do they usually like leaving like the membrane on it, like they do on some foxes and coyotes, or?
No, you take everything off.
Everything off of a cat?
Yeah, the only thing that you leave some fur on is like water animals, so mink, muskrats, you leave some skin. Some people leave them on the red fox, some people don't. I take everything off on everything. And you can get these knives for cheap. This is a nicer one, it's a necker. It's nice for the head. I guess I could have made a seizure on myself. I haven't skinned a cat yet, this year, only fox. They don't fit on this way.
Has it been a slower year for the cats, you think, or is it just
for me?
Just for you.
People who know how to trap are doing fine. But you want to get all that skin off around the ears and any extra cartilage, just so you don't get rotting smells, because fur buyers will look for that. And some people don't focus too much on the head. I do, but there's a lot of people who don't. One spot you really gotta get is these armpits. Later in the year, cats will have a pretty good chunk of fat there. And once you get down here, you can use that curved part of the blade. And then this part, just trial and error on pressure.
I was fleshing out a early season coyote and ripped him in half on accident. One time.
Those early coyotes are, they're thinner than these cats are right now.
Yep, so all he's doing right now, as far as fleshing goes, is after you skin the cat, you want to make sure you get all that extra fat, meat, and just that, I don't even know, what do they call it? Is that silver skin, technically still?
It's kind of like, it's just a membrane between the muscle and the skin.
Yeah, so you want to make sure you get all that meat, all that fat, and that membrane, everything off of that cat skin, just so it doesn't rot under that hide and cause slippage.
And the way they check for that is they'll shake your pelt, and it'll sound like paper if you did it right.
So you think the fur market's going to be affected big time because COVID, or you think it's going to...
It already is. 2 years ago, I was getting 800 average on cats. Last year, I got 250.
Oh, geez.
And this year, they're expecting it lower. But not coyotes. Coyotes are still hot. Still a hot commodity, so there's going to be a lot of coyotes that sell for higher prices than cats.
I was looking at the Elko prices last year. Average was a little over $70. High lot went over 300.
Yeah.
That's insane. So is this just soapy water?
Just Dawn dish soap, cold water, and then I'm gonna try just getting this part wet because
out of there.
It's a pain.
Yeah.
Once they get wet, that Dawn just gets it right out of that fur. All right, now I'll go dump this out. I'll get some clean water. You want to make sure you dry the skin off the best you can because it'll start rotting under that. Some people will put them on the stretcher inside out and leave them, but it's so hot and dry here that sometimes in an hour it's so hard you can't do anything with it. I get everything inside out. If you are in colder climates or more humid areas, you do have to start drying it fur out. Otherwise this won't dry quick enough and it'll rot. One thing most trappers do here, you just get borax cleaning powder. I use it to clean the fur at the end of the season. You just dry rub it on and shake it out. And then this is all the used stuff from that. And I just put this all on the skin. It helps dry it and preserve it. And people argue that fur manufacturers, fur buyers get mad when they see the borax. I've sold many high dollar cats doing this and it hasn't ruined my pricing at all. That pretty much just gets all that grease, sucks up all the grease and fat.
That extra
oil
stuff on it, yeah.
Oil that's on the skin.
So because I shot this cat, we're gonna have to stitch a hole on him. It's not a super big hole, but I mean on a cat, any hole is a bad hole, right?
Yeah. And when you just put it there, you can see stretching it this way is not gonna work. You have to find which way it tore open, which looks like it tore open this way. When you pull, there's no dip. And then when you sew it, you don't want to pull fur up through it. Needle always goes down. So you'll do one side and then you'll go down on this side. You just kind of baseball stitch it. And when you get it on the back like this, you don't have to have a ton of stitching in it. You just don't want this gaping hole there. If you shoot the belly, you gotta
get real surgical with it.
Yeah. As long as the needle's going down every time, you're not gonna pull much hair through.
And it'll look better, right?
Yeah, everything will lay down flat in there. You won't even be able to tell that they're very specific on how you need to stretch them. This is a smaller one, so I have two smaller stretchers there, but there's my stretcher I use for most of my cats.
The big ones?
Yeah. You get and go with the fur buyers, they tell you exactly what they're looking for. So I just have this and it lets me know the width for the length. You want it proportioned and they have measurements for it, but especially for cats, you can get docked hundreds of dollars by messing up your width.
Once you figure it out, it's like a science to try to pull the top dollar off everything.
For the cats that they want for the big, $150,000 jackets, they only get enough cats to make about one or two of those a year. So those are the cats you're trying to get. So I pre-mark the lengths on here, so then I don't have to keep pulling out of tape. I can just pull down
and see
to the line I want. And this one will probably go maybe an inch past what it hangs. So this one will probably go to 33. We might be able to get to 34. I just gotta make sure I get the width.
And then the bigger cats are always gonna be a little more pricey, right? You're gonna pull a little more money out of a bigger cat.
Yeah, but the really big cats normally have bad bellies. So a really big tom, whenever we get a 44-inch tom, very seldomly do you get a good belly. Normally what I see is the best bellies are the 38 to 40, 36 to 40-inch cats normally have the best belly. Some of the small ones have super nice bellies, but they're so small that they can't really use a fur coat anyways, because it has to be long enough to make a coat. When you pull these cats down, they get saggy right here, especially these smaller ones. But you want to pull that head down as far as you can, and then the feet, and then the legs, and then I pull, and then I just let it rest, and that's where I'm going to stretch it to for length. And then I get the belly board in there, so I just start spreading it. And there's actually a lot of people who put up coyotes like this too, this exact same way. The guys who get the most money at the first sale, they use the belly boards and pin them the exact same way you pin a cat. It's called the Nevada stretch, so here in Nevada everybody likes to use it. So so this cat here is gonna go, it's gonna be between 32 and 34, probably closer to the 32. So you wanna go about mid-body. You can see I gotta stretch it out just a little bit more.
And that's telling you the width you've got to make it, right?
Yeah. So yeah, right there. Right at 32, so that's the right width. It doesn't look good now because it's wet.
So is that considered like a decent belly on them, or?
Up here,
right, huh?
Up here it's yellow, and then down here, spots are kind of cloudy. They're not super defined, but you can't pick the cat you kill.
Yep. So right now we're blow drying it just so we can see how the hair looks when he brushes it out.
So you see the difference between the washed hair and the natural hair?
Yeah.
You never get it to look the same after you wash it.
That's looking a lot better now.
You really want the white on the legs because the manufacturers will use all of the white. So once we get it pinned up, you can see why we do the Nevada stretch and why the fur buyers like to see it.
Kind of shows off all the white.
Yeah, it shows what they can use. Because they're not gonna attach this to another cat this way, because there's gonna be differences in the belly. They only go side to side.
Oh, okay.
So they'll cut the leg and sew them together up there, and the same with these legs down here. They'll sew those together and they'll use all that on the coat. So you want to make sure that's centered the best that you can. So you can see where the orange goes. I need to twist it this way a little.
Just centering them up?
Yeah, he's centered up, got the belly board centered up, and now you can do a Nevada stretch. You need a lot of pins for a cat. Now what they'll do, the fur buyer, is when they do their measurements, they're gonna go to wherever this line goes down. So it's part of the reason you leave some of the white is, see this pelt would be to right there. So we added an inch of length just by cutting it the way we cut it. So that's one benefit of it. I just put this first pin right on my measurement, and that kind of gives me a indicator of where to pin everything else. And then you get this little bit of white right here. I'll always just put that right next to that pin. And the same on this side here.
Makes like a straight line?
Yeah, you want that line as straight as possible. Make sure you get it in the skin and not just the hair, or it doesn't hold. And this is why basswood stretchers are nice. And you want to make sure you get higher quality pins, otherwise they just break when you push them in. Now, this is where it matters the most, because this is where the presentation comes. So I'll go into the middle. And this stretches a lot more than you think it does once you get it on there. So you get some of that ankle there. We're going to stretch it at full length right there. So it goes all the way across the stretcher. So you want to make sure this inside pin has a big chunk of skin that your thing goes through, because you're going to pull on that pretty hard. And you want to get this, the ankle itself won't go as far. You want to do all the way up to the middle first. And I'll start with these a little bit more space, because as we get up, we'll be able to stretch a little bit more every time. And so this is why we didn't want any orange on these legs.
Yeah.
Because if you had orange on these legs about right here, you'd have this orange hair going right down the middle.
Like a little orange line?
Yeah, so it doesn't show the fur buyer what they're getting. So then they gotta guess. And the more they have to guess, the less they're gonna pay. A lot of cats they can't use past here because it darkens up. The really nice cats will have white all the way down there. When the manufacturers are making coats, they'll sew this fur together down here and they'll use that whole strip. Where if you got that orange line, then they gotta kind of guess how wide of a strip they're actually gonna get when they manufacture it. So you're just taking all the guessing out for them.
Yeah, making it a little bit easier for them to put their money into it.
Yeah, because when you're risking high money, if a cat doesn't go to one of those jackets, your fur buyer's not going to get the money back that they invested into it. So you could lose a couple $100 on a good cat ear just by having that orange line down the middle. And you kind of got a little flap there that you can pull down. And then maybe a couple more on the inside. Use a lot of pins on Bobcats.
So that's why you pin the legs together right there, so you can kind of see all that white.
And a really good cat will have this color white all the way down to about here. So you'll have the white, you have that much usable fur. For the cat right here, you're about here with it. So you didn't get a whole lot added to it. There's my trapping partner. What's up, dude? They can use this fur right here on the back of the leg. This one's kind of a casty. I call it casty, and it kind of has that orange color to it. So they won't probably use much of it. But I just have these hangers right here. Coat hangers.
You just broke a hanger?
Yeah. Just cut the ends off of them. And then these are like stretchers for the legs. See how much better that looks than if you just pinned it like that.
Yeah.
It'll be the width of the cat's neck right there. You don't want to get too far in there, otherwise you won't get it out. And then you want the orange a little bit in the back, kind of like how we cut the legs. You want some orange there. Some of these legs are together. It's white all the way up. And then I just put a single pin just in the skin side right here, so you don't seal that hole up. Because the legs will rot right here pretty easy if you seal that up too much.
So you want to make sure airflow pretty much goes through it.
Yeah, and then when we're done, we'll put these pipes down out there, and then that just makes sure the armpit right there doesn't rot out.
Oh yeah, that looks.
You can see how much
looks way better.
That looks way different.
Yeah.
So now the fur buyer doesn't have to guess what the legs are gonna look like. Like on this cat, they know they got all of that. When if you tuck the legs and have the orange line down here, you'd be to about here. That they know. They don't know about anything else. So
yeah, that makes him look like completely different cat almost.
Yeah.
His neck was all kind of orangish.
You can see that orange there. And then if the legs are tucked in, they have no idea what the legs look like. And then when they tan it, if it doesn't dry spread out like this, they're not going to be able to get the same shape out of it.
So you just put the pin on that back leg so that air can still go through there. Yep.
Yeah, and then I'll put these down there.
Just little PVC pipes?
Yeah, just pecs. And then, because that'll keep this armpit open. Let me put a pin in the slip. That's why you can cut it this. If you don't need the jaw, or somewhere where you don't need it, cut it right there. It makes it just easier. Then do the ears. You gotta make sure the eye holes are open, because when Fish and Game puts their CITES tag in there, they appreciate it when they have somewhere to put it. And then I keep both eyes open because my hangers will go through the other eye hole. So on all my Ferraris, make sure eye holes are open.
So you pin them open?
Yeah, I just put a pin on the inside just to make sure it doesn't close up once it starts drying. Oh, I forgot to split the tail. You can go through with a knife and cut up, which is easy on a cat. A little bit tougher on a coyote, but when you got a gray fox, that takes way too long. These are like $1. And then you just put it in the tail and
just pull up like nothing.
Pull up, and then the tail's split. You can spread that if you want. Just splitting it will keep it from breaking. If you don't split it, this will just break super easy once you take it off. So And you don't need to stretch that too far. I just make sure it doesn't go past the legs because then it just looks bad. And then whenever you hang a pelt, you want to hang it upside down and you want to brush the fur towards the head so the hair is going against its natural grain.
Yeah.
And then when it dries, your cat will look fuller and fluffier. You normally don't get those ridges, but it was wet, so.
Yeah.
I kind of go down and out just because it widens. Gives it a wider look to it.
It looks like it's got a way wider belly now.
So you might have to brush that out again when you get home. And then that's a proper Nevada stretch.
That cat looks way different than when I shot him. Looks a lot wider.
Yeah.
A lot wider of a belly too, that's for sure. Looks great.
Yeah. You can see that the belly looks better than I even thought at first.
Mm-hmm.
The spots are a little bit foggy, but super white.
So what the fur graders are looking for is just a nice solid white belly on them all the way down and clear spots.
White on it. Yeah, what they want is they want as wide of white as you can. And then they want this color snow white on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see you got a couple of these really blacks, even those ones. If you look close, this is probably the best spot, right? These two right here. But
like really dark.
yeah, and there's no brown. Like when you get down here, you see how there's like that brownish color in the spots.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they call cloudy spots. So it doesn't look as bright. You want the really, really dark spots, white down as far as you can. And then normally the best cats go 36 or bigger. When you get above 40, that's where you hit like that next level of cat.
Yeah.
And then you get above 44 and that's just, in fact, the fur buyer who buys a lot of the furs, on his measuring stick, he just writes horse. There's no number on it, it just says horse. So when I actually,
I had just wrote you on Instagram, what, maybe like a week ago, saying if
I don't think it was a week ago.
like just a couple days ago probably.
It was like Monday.
Yeah.
I was shocked today when I looked and I saw I had a message from you and I was like, did you kill a cat?
Yeah, so I wrote him just a couple days ago, pretty much saying that I've never skinned a cat before, I've never boarded one or anything, and asking if he would show me. And obviously he was kind enough to go ahead and show me on this cat that I just shot last night. So it's been less than 24 hours. He's already boarded up, nice and neat. Looks amazing. Way better in a job than I could have done on a first, that's for sure, because I wouldn't have known all the little tips and tricks. I really do appreciate it.
Hey,
Big time.
I haven't caught a cat, so this gives me something to do.
Yeah.
So in Nevada, they require the jaws with these tags on them, and they just want to know where it was killed, when it was killed, the gender, unit number, and then they'll use that information with the bottom jaw. They can age the cat, and then they can kind of figure out what the population trends are. Because we don't have limits here. So our limit's based on our season length. So when there's really good cat recruitment, we get a 4-month season. And then they'll reduce it depending on the numbers. Like this year, they gave us a 3-month season, and then every 2 years they reevaluate. And they've lowered it before and they've raised it before. So our fishing game is awesome.
They do a good job.
They do what's right, not what's best for their pocket. So, so yeah, you just have to fill that out. And then
Okay. So here in Nevada, you gotta keep the jaws off your bobcat here. And here's like a little tag. I'm not gonna show the other side because it's gonna show where I shot this cat at. And I already know if I post that, like I did a fishing spot one time, next time I go there's going to be about 15 people trying to shoot a bobcat at that same spot. If you guys saw that video, you actually saw me shoot this bobcat. If you didn't, highly recommend that one. I'm going to put like a little link to it at the end of this video. You guys can check that one out. I used a thermal. So the main reason why I wrote him on Instagram asking if he would be willing to help me board my first bobcat is because, like I said, I've never done it before. I follow him on Instagram. And I see him, at least last year, you caught a lot of cats last year, right? And all the ones you boarded up looked really nice. And I was curious on how it's done from start to finish. So, great looking cat. I'm more than satisfied with it, really. You guys gonna catch a lot of cats this year? Yep.
Can't talk?
Yes, I can.
I want to thank you again. Like I said, invites out anytime. Maybe before November of next year, we'll go out after coyotes or something. But
I might make you take me on your boat.
oh yeah. Anytime. We got a boat 9-seater. The bite at Lake Mead's actually gonna get good here soon. So if it does, I'll let you know.
All right.
Sounds good.